Hello and welcome to PM Express, the Fallen Soldiers Memorial. It's been a year. How time flies when that gruesome killing of a young soldier happened, and I'm sure wherever you are in this world you must have heard about it. Major Mahama, then Captain Mahama, going about his duty, and for one reason or the other, miscommunication, misunderstanding, the people of Dejrobuasi suspected him to be anything other than a soldier, and this young man was lynched in the most gruesome of ways. Well, a year down the line, the case is still in court, and you wonder, it looked like an open and closed book story. Pictures were seen, videos were seen, those who were setting him alight, those who were stoning him. So how is it that with all this evidence and still the case is still dragging on? Cases in Ghana just to drag on too much. Some drag on so much that those who started the case die and go away, and their grandchildren take it up and also run with it. Is it becoming another culture within our legal fraternity that cases are just too prolonged? Are we going to adapt arbitrations to try and minimize everything being sent to court? Issues about land, issues about chieftaincy, and some of the cases are just so in our faces that we hope to see justice in a much shorter time, but we don't. And a clear case is that of Major Mahama. How is it that a year down the line, this case is still in court? That's what we are looking at today. My name is Anansakwa, the fourth Chief of the Little Republic of Akwamo Edumasa. When I come back, I'm talking to one fine lawyer who knows a thing or two about cases that are dragging on and why it is that we are still in court on such an open case. Don't worry.
A man known to be full of life by the many that interacted with him. For his family, he was simply a father, while for the many soldiers who were under his command, he was a true officer and a gentleman. A decorated officer of the 5th Battalion Infantry of the Ghana Armed Forces, Major Maxwell Mahama fought for his life at the hands of the very citizens he had sworn to protect. The captain's last fight remains one brutal episode in his short life that is a scar on the conscience of the nation. It therefore came as no surprise when hundreds thronged the State House to join his family, bid him farewell. It was a solemn moment, tough for the family. For so many of the mourners, the memory of the murder of the soldier played back in their minds as his killers hounded him with stones.
The years ahead will be full of memories, but I wanted more than just memories. It's fine, I'll manage. You wanted us to grow old together, but God needs you where you are, because there are too many obstacles and temptations here on earth. You are so safe, I am glad. I love you is not a new word to you, because I love yous were always said in our house. This is a lesson to always love wholeheartedly while we have breath. Choose love over strife, quarrels, jealousy, backbiting, etc. What at all do we want in this world that is not our home? I'll safely keep your tithe card and show to the children one day. I'll take good care of them because this was your wish. I will try and let Jaden have your pistol because you always said that was your only proper property for Jaden. My dear husband, Justin partner, advisor, teacher, mentor, Maxwell Adama Hama, rest in perfect peace. I love you.
A wife broken beyond consolation. She mustered courage to speak to a nation stricken by grief. Grief that cries out that no other person should suffer such loss, and also for vengeance. On that day, a dark cloud covered the entire nation. So intense was the pain that many couldn't hold back their tears. Father of the late soldier could simply not finish his tribute.
I stand here today with a heavy heart to pay tribute to my son, my brother, my friend, because these are all what Major Maxwell Adam Mahama was to me. This relationship started right from his death because
this relationship started right from his birth because, being our first child, myself and Vero, his mother, competed for his company. Unlike most children, Maxwell was not the type who, as baby, gave us sleepless night.
His comrades in arms paid their last respect. At his death, Major Mahama received so many salutes both from the rank and file of the army that he did in his entire life. Even before the tears dried from the eyes of the mourners, a chorus of vengeance filled was heard in the voices of many who couldn't accept the death of the young captain. For many, a quick resolution of the matter could help the family put the tragic incident behind them.
I am a part of the family. Maxwell is my nephew, and I feel very sad at what has happened. I believe that government and the security agencies will do everything possible to bring the perpetrators of this dastardly act to book. If we are able to find out who did it and properly prosecute them and apply the penalty, I believe that it will serve as a deterrent to people who engage in mob justice. If this happens, then Maxwell's death would not have been in vain.
Are some are claiming for something like this to be done to him? No. In the past, when this kind of thing used to happen, they would slap him, bash him a few times, and hand him over to the police. Where did we go wrong and have to go so far to kill, smash, block, etc., only to discover he's an innocent officer?
I'm not a vindictive man. I'm not going to say that whatever. But all those who did what they did to him, they will face justice and face their almighty God. No two ways about it.
But almost...
Well, that was the man, the soldier, the hero, Major Adam Mahama, a year down the line. But with me in studio is Martin Kpebu, who's a private legal practitioner, a patriot, and a very passionate Ghanaian as such. Martin, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
And
thank you.
Yeah, I don't know, production, do you want to give me the update on where we are with the court case, so we carry on with it? Okay. A year down the line, and this case is still in court. Yeah. To the layman, to us, it looked like a closed case. WhatsApp, lady in a yellow cloth, man in a red shirt, seen doing the act. They caught them, and some of them, when they caught, they were even still wearing the same, attire that, and a year down the line, we're still here. I mean, is it normal?
I would say yes, normal, but not acceptable. When I say normal, it means that it follows the trend. Actually, the trial has just started. It just got underway. I think it's not just about a month ago. So all this while, we had basically been doing investigations. So though you would hear every month that they've been to court, basically the investigations hadn't concluded. But you see, from the way our laws are made, when you have a person in custody, generally every 2 weeks, you must go back to court. That's the way the law somehow keeps a check on accused persons and all that, you see. So though you would be inundated if you Google several court appearances and the rest. They were basically not trying the case. It's because the investigations hadn't been concluded. You remember the case of the last one that dragged on for long was the autopsy report. You remember it took so long. Eventually the judge had to haul the pathologist to court and all that. And even just to chip in, you see J.B. Danko Edu's own too. Yeah. Even the pathologist report is still hanging. I mean, almost 3 years on. So basically, though we've been going to court, we weren't prosecuting. The real prosecution has just gotten underway. And this stems from so many factors, so many. So if you see the pathologist report delaying, it means that the system hasn't catered for their own pathologists. Because if we had organized well, we'll have pathologists who will be dedicated to court cases, so that once the examination is done, the report and everything that follows is also done quickly. But here's the case: sometimes the pathologist will tell that he's not been paid. Yes, that's the reason why sometimes the delays. Yes, and you know that one has to be paid by the judicial service, and then sometimes it depends on how their receipt of subventions and all that. It's quite a complex problem. So basically, at the bottom of it, we haven't organized the system well. No, and we need citizens to properly come up. You know, because we are lawyers, sometimes you are careful the extent to which you want to, complain, because you're also in the system. You know, somehow you are limited. When you are part of a system, you are limited in the extent to which you can talk. So perhaps we need independent people who would come in, understand, and then do proper advocacy for us. Yes, because apart from that, also the police. It's an open secret that we don't have enough policemen. So sometimes you have one policeman on the case, he's called to go and do another thing. Even in worst case scenarios, the same policeman investigating a case, he's taken to Sudan, and then he returns to come and continue. He's transferred today, tomorrow he's on leave. So many things. So it's about the system. The system has quite so many challenges, so many.
So it's not us, but rather the system.
Yes.
Let's get an update on where the court case is with Major Mahama.
Almost 12 months afterwards, the case is at its initial stages at the High Court. The trial is by jury. Ghana's constitution requires all capital punishments to be heard by a 7-member jury and a judge. Under the law, no special expertise is required for one to serve as a juror. Sections 205 of the Criminal Procedure Code reads, "Every person between the ages of 25 and 60 years who is resident in Ghana and can understand the English language shall be liable to serve as a juror." The law provides criteria for when someone may not be qualified to serve as a juror. It includes, but not limited to, the President and members of the National Assembly, judges, district magistrates, local magistrates, among others. The jury will be expected to return a unanimous verdict on each charge. Where the jury are unable to return a unanimous verdict in a capital offense, or the verdict of the jury is unacceptable by law, the judge must discharge the jury and order a retrial by a fresh jury. It took about a month for the 7-member jury to be empaneled. On April 25, 2018, Chief State Attorney Evelyn Kilson formally opened the state's case against 14 individuals. The accused persons had been captured on tape, beating up the soldier. They are William Ban, the assemblyman of Dinchoboase. The others are Bernard Asamoah alias Daddy, Kofi Nyaku aka Abortion, Akwesi Ban, Kwame Tufo, Joseph Apiakubi, Michael Enim, and Bismarck Donko. Others are John Bossi, Akwesi Ban, Charles Quenin, Imano Bedu, Bismarck Abanga, and Kojo Enima. They are facing the charges of murder and conspiracy to commit murder. Chief State Attorney Evelyn Kilson said,
"We will show you the roles of each accused person in the lynching of Major Mahama in the course of this trial."
The defense lawyers also had their say. Judge Bernard Shaw's lawyer for 6 of the accused persons said,
"The prosecutor will not be able to show that William Ban, the assemblyman, did intentionally instigate and cause the gang of young men of the town to undertake this act."
The other defense lawyers had this to say.
"They appear before you as individuals. They are in the dock collectively, but look at the evidence individually. You cannot be heartbroken if you look at the circumstances of this case, but please look at the evidence. Keep your eyes on that ball.
You should not follow the Ghanaian way of doing things, the media things. Look at the evidence critically.
Ignore talks about mob. They must show how acts by A5 and A6 caused their death. You are not supposed to follow your emotions. You must follow the evidence.
This may seem like good news to those who have called for justice. At least the trial has progressed. 58 persons were arrested and put before a district court by the police as of July 2017. But at start of trial at the High Court in February 2018, the number had whittled down to 14. This meant the case had taken up to 7 months at the lower court. The Criminal Investigations Department of the Ghana Police Service has been investigating this murder case. The department has a difficult job of ensuring that criminals are cleared off the streets, homes and communities. The department has to work a lot harder to ensure that this painful death of Major Mahama doesn't become like many cold cases on the shelves of the police and the state prosecutor. DCOP Mami Tiwa Abdankwa is Director General.
We've also started developing another case tracking system where from arrest to investigation at every point in time of the investigation, you should be able to track where you are from throughout the country. You should sit in your office and know what is happening in Kumasi, what is happening in other parts of the country. So that at the end of the day, when the case gets to court, then this case tracking project also takes it from there. So right from the beginning till at the court system, we are also doing something to make sure that the whole system gets completed and it is very successful. We cannot continue to receive the blame. So that is why we are also doing something about that kind of allegation so that it doesn't actually happen again. So we are doing our best to ensure that investigators actually arrest when it is necessary and when they have actually established a prima facie case that this person has to be arrested. And even when you arrest and you are not ready to go to court, the law allows us to grant bail.
Others are still not impressed with such assurances. They believe Ghana's justice system is slow, saddled with a lot of manual processes. There have been stories shared of people who have cases pending for many years with no clear resolution in sight. At the national level, cases such as the trial of Gregory Afoko, the alleged killers of MP J.B. Dankwa Edu, among others, have been outstanding for at least 2 years. Paulo Galizzi is a professor of law at Fordham University.
What I would say is that unfortunately delays in the delivery of justice are not only a Ghanaian problem. There are problems in delay of delivery of justice everywhere, some more serious than others. I originally come from Italy, for example, and Italy is regularly condemned in the European Court of Human Rights for failing to deliver justice efficiently and speedily on civil cases and others. But let's talk a little bit about the Ghana situation. I think that Ghana can and should do better, and I think is an example of all the stakeholders coming together, first of all recognizing that there is a problem and trying to find solution to address stakeholders coming together to ensure that people that are accused of a crime first of all, are presumed innocent. So that until they are convicted by a court, they're supposed to be presumed innocent, and then that the system works speedily to determine whether a person has or has not done what he or she is accused of. So what I would say is that Ghanaians have the right to have justice that is fast, that they deserve. And I think Ghana is going in the right direction. It's striving to do better. And I think it's not alone in having to improve. I've always believed that there's always room for improvement for us all, right?
So far, one witness, the late soldier's deputy, W.O. Sabi Kwesi, has testified against those standing trial. 14 others are expected to be called to take the stand soon. Family of the late soldier are well aware their daily trips to the court may not end anytime soon.
Far so good. We are on it. We know that it's very slow and very frustrating, but we have to live with it. So that is why we are always in court. We want to follow the process, however slow it is. All that we want is justice for Major Maxwell Mahama. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. But we just have to hold ourselves as hard as possible and go through it.
Very stressful and very, very, very depressing.
Yeah.
If this was your son, your brother, I mean, even for us who are just not related but just feel as a Ghanaian brother, so depressing and frustrating. Should there be a time limit to say, listen, for such a case, I'm giving you 3 months, 2 weeks, 5 weeks? Can that be done, or it's not law?
Yeah, it can be done. It can be done, and elsewhere they're already doing it. So let's start with maybe African examples so that you would see, like in Rwanda, when you take the case to court, in 6 months, you must be done. You see, Rwanda just a few years ago was a war-torn country. See how they've made a quick turnaround.
6 months?
Yes, 6 months. That's it, 6 months. You take a case to court, you must be done in 6 months. Yes, otherwise it's trouble for the judge. You see, so we can copy. In India, they have the Speedy Trial Act. It's not only in India. As for the Western countries, I'm sure is the standard, you know. In America, 70 days after the commencement of the trial. 70 days. Okay.
Once the jury is set up and everything, yes, 70 days.
70 days. It's only in exceptional cases that they would allow it to travel. And so basically, if they say exceptional cases, it means that yes, it really must be exceptional. It's not as if when it's about 70 days now, as a lawyer, I would appear and say,
I'm applying for exceptional
exactly, and then you do it. Yes. So there are so many countries around the world where they've put in time limits. And even in Ghana here too, we even have a bit of it when it comes to juveniles. For juveniles, we've stated 6 months, and we are applying it. We've had that law since 2003. So if a person is below 18 and is involved in a crime, if you take him to court within 6 months, you must be done. So at least we have it for children. So we can scale up to adults. Because, Nana, listen, this problem, we just can't allow it to continue to fester.
Will it overload our courts because there's not enough lawyers, there are not enough courts, there are not enough personnel in the judiciary? If you put a 6 months bracket, is it going to be the case where, well, look, whether he's guilty or not, look, let's just say guilty so that at least we close the case and move on?
No, it won't. Let's start with the first one, as you stated. So, as part of the problem, you said there are not enough lawyers and there are not enough judges, not enough policemen. You see, so the system itself is not structured in well to deliver quick justice. But that notwithstanding, we can do something. We can develop a proper queuing system so that, look, if it's not time for the trial, let's not start. The problem is that currently, we don't limit how many trials start as such. It depends largely on the discretion of the individual judges. So what I'm saying is that we should have a queuing system so that we know that, okay, this case is ahead of case A, is ahead of case C. And in that same manner, case C is ahead of case X. So let's start. If A is on trial, we'll limit the number of other cases that come on trial so that we'll concentrate all our efforts on A. You see, finish it, get it out of the way. But currently, under the system, because there are no strict limits, so many trials are started at a time. Then midway, as lawyers, I'm also part of it. Sometimes you are inundated, so you come and then you ask for an adjournment in circumstances where ordinarily you shouldn't. But as you stated, there are not enough lawyers. So those of us practicing aren't enough to go around. So you are inundated with cases. Yes, Monday to Friday, it's a lot. It's a lot. Almost each day, you find practicing lawyers in court.
Should we have the barrister solicitor system? Would it help?
So bottom line, what I understand is you say bottom line, let's increase the numbers. That's it. It would appear that Ghana we've chosen not to separate the barrister and then the solicitors. So we simply have a lawyer and you can choose. In practice, you would find some people basically practicing more or less as solicitors. They don't do litigation. No, they are in the law firms. They participate and even lead drafting of pleadings and so many other things, but they would not show up in court. So I believe that to divide, it's not something I've immediately exercised my mind on. But one thing is clear to me, that basically we need more lawyers. That one is clear.
I say that because, like in the UK, the first person, if you have a case, is a solicitor.
Yes.
And so if I have a case with Aisha, I see my solicitor, Aisha will see his solicitor. And the solicitors will try and kill the case. If not, then they will give you a barrister to take it to court. But it's very rare that the case will go to court. They will, you know, 9 out of 10,
so many
between the writing letters, between the solicitors, they will find a solution.
Yes. Here too, we do. We don't rush to court just at any time that a client comes in. No. As a lawyer, ordinarily you would write to the other person, unless it's the type that cannot wait. So let's say that, and you would find, you mentioned land cases before we started. If you find somebody encroaching on your land, he's busily building a wall, Nana, you would agree that there's no time to write a letter. So the first thing is to sue so that you can get an injunction to restrain him. So after you have the restraining order in place, then you can talk. So we do, and even under in the ethics of our profession, it's part of the rules that we should settle cases that can be settled, and it's an offense to keep a case going in court when it should be settled, and it's also an offense to fund litigation. Yes, it's part of our ethics rules to fund litigation. So you are busy being a lawyer who busily stokes litigation where there should be none. It's an ethical practice.
With Major Mahama's case,
yes,
national interest, probably international interest, very sentimental, very emotional. In the courtroom, does it play any effect, or the courtroom is a courtroom and every case is every case? Or look, this is an exceptional case and we need to see this case, you know, rush, you know, expedition.
Yeah. Oh, we cannot run away that the international media and actually the international community is always watching. So it has an effect, and especially I know now because of the advent of social media, and even in apart from that, the traditional media, when it comes to TV proliferation and all that, radios, they all have an effect. But I don't think it's sufficient. We must specifically ask for reforms so that we'll put specific timelines.
There's a specific question to this particular case, i.e. Major Mahama's case.
Yeah.
That's a year just to do the preliminaries and selecting of jury before we are going to start the case. I mean, was it not big, you know, national interest enough to move a bit quicker in court?
Relatively, if we are comparing, I think relatively it's moved far quicker. Relatively, remember J.B. Dankwe, we mentioned it. That one was at least 2 years old before Major Mahama's own came. And you see that this one is taking, it's actually gone way ahead, you see. So relatively, I think this one has been quicker. And you see, for the ones that there is no media limelight, some are there, yes. And when I say yes, it's even an understatement. Let me just leave it at that. There are some that you find 5 years and upwards, and it hasn't started. So practically the case is dead. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you see why the Supreme Court in its wisdom had to allow that we give bail in these kind of cases. Yes. There are cases that have been there, some up to even looking at about 8 years, and the trial hasn't started. So imagine, so under the previous...
started?
No. Because the investigation, sometimes the investigations are botched. Maybe one mistake here, one mistake there, then the judge in the district court will say, no, go back and check. There are a number of those. They are there. They are there.
Wow.
Yeah, like the professor was saying, in every system, of course, you always have these difficult cases, but we can still do a lot. We just haven't started on that trajectory. We can do a lot. We need the timeline, so we need critical reform. But look, we're sitting in 2018. The basic law that we use for criminal prosecutions is a 1960 Act. Yes, you heard me right, 1960.
Wow.
Well before I was born. Well, I don't know about you, so we can imagine. 1960. And you are using 1960 law in 2018. I mean, what kind of clairvoyance did our forefathers have that they could have in 1960 made provision for this law to last up to 2018? You see, so the first thing we need is
a lot of reforms.
Yeah, a lot of reforms. The procedures and a lot of the things we're doing, they are cake. They are cake. No. I mean, to be very candid, a lot of our stuff are cake. You see, so we need critical.
So you could shorten the bureaucracy.
Yes, and also modernize. You see, if you look at the court system, until we had this new 36 court complex, and then maybe a few of the fast track, you see, you still go, even in Accra, go to some of the courts, you see very dilapidated court structures. Look, even the seats, very dilapidated. You'll be surprised that this is the place where lawyers sit and judges sit. I mean, it's so much of a shame. But as I stated, because we are in the system, sometimes you can get the extent, but we can do a lot. So perhaps we need, last year we started something like that Criminal Justice Reform Association. Yeah, we presented a petition to the AG. Maybe we'll return to it, because you see that's a problem we face. Not enough of our citizens are coming up to give that support. You see, we need more.
I mean, in our system, justice is probably very, very expensive, and therefore it's not for the average average man. So the average man has never come close to a lawyer or a judge or anything. So maybe that's why we are not, jumping up and about. One interesting thing is that originally 50 people were hauled, and then now we are down to 40. I mean, that's a major reduction.
Exactly. So that also tells you something about the way the system is organized. You see, in Ghana, the investigations are basically done by the police. When they are done, then they forward the docket to the Attorney General. When it comes to murder cases, capital offenses, and basically most of the first degree offenses, it's the state that prosecutes. I mean, when I say state, I mean actually the Attorney General's department. The police do the second degree of felonies and also robbery. Most of the robberies the police still do. So what I'm saying is that the way the system is structured, the police finish investigations before they take the docket to the Attorney General, or at any time Attorney General can ask for to see, but most of the time they finish before they forward. So it's when it gets to the state attorneys, then they too now sift. You see, so we need reforms so that the state attorneys are embedded in the police, so that they do the investigations together. So at every point, the police would report to the state attorney, so that that officer, case officer, would constantly review. You see, the Americans do it that way. So when you see the district attorney, so the district attorney is in charge of the whole case, the investigations and all those. He coordinates it. But in Ghana, the Attorney General,
because he's going to take it to court.
Exactly. But our system, he doesn't. It's jurisdictional, and sometimes there's even, I mean, it's natural. There's even a tough war, because when you are looking for the docket at the time that the police don't think they finish enough, sometimes there are delays. You ask for the docket, it's not forthcoming. Yeah, you will see cases in which it becomes a tango. These things are, so we need reforms. We need the state attorneys to be embedded in the police investigations, so that they work together as a team. That way it moves faster. Look, and that system, you would find, even though the British have their own system that works well, generally ours is modeled on them. They even sent judges to go to the US to observe how the US system works, and they did a report. The Justice Gross, right? Yeah, and then even though they said yes, they may not necessarily switch to the American system, but at least they've gone to study how it works, and then they've done comparisons. We sit here, as far as I'm aware, we haven't done such a comparative study. You see it, and that's not good, because these guys are well ahead of us, right? Centuries ahead. So it would pay for us to go see how they do it, and then bring about reforms. We need dedicated investigators. So this problem about not having enough policemen. By the UN standards, we should have 1 policeman to 500 citizens. We are doing almost double. So the police are overstretched. Their basic function is to do maintain law and order. And these are the same people you take out part to do investigations, and then some are in court, and then even thousands of them also as investigators. So they are spread thin. That's how come investigations will move slowly. So we need to increase the numbers and have them dedicated to investigations. Make sure that when the man is on a case, you are not now going to transfer him, you are not now going to send him to Sudan on peacekeeping and all those other stuff.
I'm going to take a break, and then when I come back, I find out that there's been 1 or 2 revolutions within the judicial fraternity. There was the court set up in Sawam to make sure that there were speedy trials. There's the 36 complex that's just been built, and 1 or 2 other things. Do we need more revolution, or is this good enough? And can we afford it, and should we afford it? Don't go away. Well, thank you very much for staying, and it all boils down to justice within the country, and how much more should we pay for it. Indeed, I said justice is not for sale. Once you get to any court, that's the first thing they told you, that justice is not for sale. But can you afford justice? Laura, How much more revolution do we need? There was this courts that were set up at the prisons to, you know, hurriedly get people out. There's been the fast-track courts. There's been the 36 complex that's been built. How much more revolution do we need within the judicial fraternity? Should we pay for it, and can we pay for it?
Yeah, we can. We can. It's about priorities. And in terms of how many more, the sky is the limit, because we need a lot. As I stated, yes, it's good. We've done a good job with justice for all. But the other question is sustainability. You see, how do you sustain it? Because, you know, it suffered, and it's still suffering because it's not properly funded. That's the truth of the matter. So though it's done such a credible job, and natural fact, the Kenyans have been here to observe other countries and they want to copy, when it comes to funding, it's a challenge. You see, notwithstanding the successes. So basically, as I've stated, there are a whole lot that we need. I mentioned earlier on the reforms of the laws, even the tools themselves that we use. And then also we need an increase in the numbers of lawyers. We need a huge increase. We could do with twice the number, twice our total number, okay? We could also do with the infrastructure. As I mentioned, in Accra here, if you go, some of the district courts, you would be shocked that these are the seats, as I stated, seats that we sit on, torn and very dirty, and we sit on it. You find a foam that should look whitish. It's so dark brown, and that's what we sit on. It's as if somehow, you know, we are reticent. That's the word, just reticent. It looks like somehow there is that culture that you don't want to be the one seen as spearheading. You see, the system is regimented, so there are seniors. So when you are young, you really need to know your place. So it's not everything, as I stated, that you want to comment, because you see seniors well ahead.
They sat on it and they didn't complain.
So sometimes you're like, hey, these people, they'll say, and that's a challenge. Yeah. So sometimes not everything you want to say with your mouth, because that's a critical thing. We ask you, when did you graduate? It's a very serious matter. So we have internally, there are some issues that also inhibit the way you want to advocate. Yes. Because there are seniors ahead. I know this advent of social media and also millennials, you know, different thinking, the system needs to see that we've really changed. So we need so many revolutions. Look, so many. We are way behind. The laws we use, we could just actually take a lot of them and throw out and just do with the modern ways of doing things. Okay. Yes, we are proud of the justice for all, but that's not sufficient. We are proud of the new 36 court complex, but that's not sufficient, because next, within a mile of the 36 court complex, specifically go to the Accra Central District Court, you'll be shocked. AME, yes, under the law, the district assemblies should are supposed to provide court structures, so maybe AMA too should look at that. The AMA court, very dirty, very dirty. That one, you can send your cameras tomorrow and they will tell, I mean, unless they can be cleaned up midnight. And if they are cleaned up, I mean, all well and good. But you would find very dirty courtrooms. And that's where we practice, very dilapidated. I mean, you would look at it and you're like, are we serious? Look, an individual, you see, sometimes the painful thing is that we drive glittering cars and park there. Yeah, you come. You know, lawyers, as part of the tools of the trade, you have to look very presentable. So we drive glittering cars, expensive cars, and go and park there and go and sit on this dilapidated. So sometimes you're like, so what is wrong? That's the whole challenge. But as I said, sometimes you are cautious because, Charlie, you want to know your place in the system. You don't want to overstep bounds.
Let me ask you a very unfair and probably pedestrian question, but do you think the Major Mahama's family would ever see justice?
Oh, definitely, that one, definitely. I think we are on course. As we stated earlier, this case is relatively going very fast, relatively, as I said. We are not happy with it, but by the end of it, I mean, so 29th is exactly 1 year now. Meanwhile, where the trial started before the first anniversary, started more than a month before that. So relatively, this has been very fast.
But then we don't have a cap on how long the trial should go for.
No, we don't. The Constitution says that it must be tried within a reasonable time. That's the word the Constitution uses. And the word reasonable, we've not developed it. The Supreme Court has not yet
maybe you have to.
Yes, there's something.
You have to take it up.
We have a case pending like that. It's been about a year and a half. I'm sure very soon the Supreme Court will come to it. Yeah. So we're asking for the interpretation of the word reasonable time. Some of these things, you know. Yeah. So let's see when the court comes.
How much reasonable time will be reasonable time?
Exactly.
But, you know, considering the respect we have for lawyers, respect we have for judges, and it's one of those enviable professions. Hey, I want my son to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I mean, whatever it is, you know, the lawyers are in there. So why has the judicial fraternity, why haven't we paid attention to it?
Yeah, people, you know, that's the question that boggles most of us, the young ones, our minds. Yes, sometimes you look at it, some have given some reasons that it looks like the seniors are tired. That some of the stories we are told are that during the revolutionary period, they did a lot of advocacy and helped to return Ghana to a democracy. So it looks like relatively the older ones, they are tired. Yes, and that's what some, yeah, because that's a question that I have had occasion to ask a lot of senior lawyers. These things that we are talking about today, you see the senior lawyers, and you tell them, senior, you should be leading the charges on this matter, because generally, because as I said, there's almost like the military. Your rank, even though we don't wear ranks, but your seniority counts. You know, yes, exactly. Those I've had occasion to ask a lot of seniors, and some tell you that, look, my brother, we've done our bit. Yes, and especially the issue of the dictatorship. They fought. The GBA fought a lot in the 70s. You know, some even got arrested and imprisoned. So some of the older ones, that's what they say. That look, they have done their bit, and that is their time is past. You see, but as long as they are in the system, you know, when you are younger, as I stated, you know that it's a pecking order. They are ahead. So most of the time, because you want to check your place in the system, you are not free to do just anything, because you know that there are seniors ahead. Otherwise, sometimes it looks like you are upstaging people and all manner of, you know, there are so many other complaints. Also, the cultural setting that the elders are always right, and you know.
Let me stay on judicial. Should the media be trained a bit more in how we report cases that are supposed to go to court? Because most of the time when it's so open, we just jump in and say, there we go, you know, not necessarily saying he's guilty, but just implying that this person is guilty, and that by all means this person has to be convicted. We then tell the whole nation that, listen, this is the results you have to expect. And so anything other than that becomes a disappointment. I mean, should the media, I don't know, be briefed or trained a bit more?
A lot more. If you compare, because a lot of the time you hear some reportage on radio, even though you are not in the case, as a practicing lawyer, immediately you know that something, what they're saying is wrong. Even you can bet your last bottom that, look, this matter, if I went to conduct a search in this case, I'll find out that this reportage is wrong. So we need a lot of training. Perhaps we should, and some, now to be candid, I think I've met a lot of journalists who have started going to law school. Yes, so it should help. If you compare with the big media, you see in the US, you know, they have, like when it comes to medical issues, you have a medical doctor as a reporter. I remember Sanjay Gupta. And Sanjay Gupta, I remember that's like how many, about 14 years ago. Sanjay Gupta, I remember like CNN you watch. Anderson Cooper, that's a practicing lawyer, the anchor. Rebecca Anderson, he's a lawyer. Johnny Quest, Johnny Quest is even reporting on business, but so a lawyer. I could name them on and on and on. So you can see that this market here, let me call it a market, or in our Ghanaian society, we could do with a lot more of lawyers coming on board so that they can help. They can help. Because just this evening, coincidentally, I don't want to mention the name of the case. The way the report was done, I was like, oh, I was in court. What I heard on radio isn't what happened. There are one too many. So you are right on point that the media will need serious training. And as I said, well, some of it is on course, because I've seen many journalists reading the LLB. And so with time, so apart from Samson, we used to have Nia Day Clegg. So I'm sure those who are in the system, they will graduate soon.
Does it have any effect on the actual case, or any pressure on the people dealing with the case when we are on there saying, look, he took the money,
yes.
You know, or he said it, or
yes.
he did that, so he's guilty, and he has to go. That does it have any bearing?
Yes.
And you know, we come back to Major Mahama's one. We've seen the video, and so we are basing all our answers. Look, we've seen the video; they are guilty.
They are guilty. Yes.
Crucify them.
Perfect. And your questions have. I mean, you have my job cut out for me. Your questions have made it easier. I could just say in one word, yes, yes, because I think that somehow you see the media with the power you have to serve as a restraint on the people as well. But a lot of the time we don't find it because it's like you rather whip up the sentiment. It's sensationalized, and it's as if there is a race to convict quickly, even by the media. Yes, I know that sometimes you try to give balance, but to be candid, the sensationalization takes a bigger chunk of it, and also the speed to get the scoop, some of those things. Yes, so it causes journalists to rush on air, to the little that they find, they have to put it out there, and that fuels the suspicions. Yes, it's good you've mentioned the video. You know, just to bring a little bit of analysis video, you know, there are cases that even though video caught some people, in court they were acquitted. When the judge's case came, I think 2 of them were acquitted. So it's not everything that you see on video that you think, oh, immediately the person would be convicted. It's a complex thing. So it's good you've mentioned that. I think we would need to exercise restraint, because sometimes we rush out to certain reportage and very soon, before you discover, it turns out false. You remember in the last 1 week, I think last week by this time, we were all over the place with this phrase that the president is in somebody's pocket. By Saturday, it turned out that it wasn't true. Then which other? Yes, so you see it. And then the other one, that the president had ordered the arrest of somebody. A few days later, it turned out that it wasn't, you see. So we would need restraint, that one we would.
The other side is that as a developing nation, if we restrain, are we then allowing too much bureaucracy, you know, where we are thinking that, look, there should be, you know,
we should report
sharp justice so that we get to the bottom of it?
We should report, but in the same breath as reporting, we should also put in the caveat that, look, these are not conclusive. These are not. This evidence is here to be tested in court. But we don't get that phrase that, well, this evidence is here to be tested in court alongside the reportage. So let's see the first one that came. The video. Oh, somebody is in somebody's pocket. Oh, it should also come with the caveat that, well, but as to whether this is true, it will be tested in court. You see it. So as soon as you put that, so people will be excited, but at the same time, they'll know that, but we'll have to wait till there's a court verdict. Otherwise, that's not sacrosanct. So it's about balance. We should constantly remind ourselves that as you put in the claims, you also put in a caveat. So the claims come with, you know, like typical lawyers' legal material. They will tell you X is Y. And then there are so many caveats. So X is Y. So many caveats. That way, we get our people, we develop some restraint. You see it. So the caveats and disclaimers are very important. Shortly after making the claims, put a caveat. Let them follow. Let them follow. You see.
Are we ever going to develop a critical mass that are hungry for justice, so that, just like we all say no to Galamsey, no to Galamsey, we all get up one day and say yes to justice, yes to justice?
Yes, yes, as long as we have people like you. As long as, you know, you have done a very brilliant job on this Monday evenings. You always, sometimes, the things that you say on air, I'm like, hey, this man, I'm sure you will drive home. And that's the other side. So since I came close to media, became friends of media, I think I've seen that Ghana is really an open society, because sometimes even the people who come on air and they bash you, but the main point I want to make is that sometimes the positions you take on air, I'm like, wow. And you see, you are still safe. Look at what Manasseh does. He's still safe. And so I think that generally our society is very open. We have a few who are impatient, so they'll come and spew invectives and the rest. But I'm measuring in terms of the freedom that we have. This is a very open society. We are thankful to the police for giving us peace and security, and the other security agencies. But we can do a lot more. That's the thing. This is not what Kwame Nkrumah dreamt for us. No. We're supposed to be the beacon. We're supposed to be ahead. But now we have a lot of our peers overtaking us. A lot. That's not acceptable. We're supposed to be the leaders in almost everything. So in terms of having a critical mass, what I think should happen is that I think there are people, but we just haven't found that synergy, that way to gather them together. Because there are so many people who have great ideas and they are frustrated with the system. But it looks like we just haven't had somebody to connect them. And the day those people will all be connected, Jesus Christ, it really will be a big revolution. Yeah.
But revolution, frustration, you know, at this time, and sometimes you hear things like, oh, we want, I wish Sally for Mankwa was here, I wish Sally for Mankwa was here. So then you are asking, lawyer, do we need this legal system, or do we need that Sally for Mankwa with his case so that there and then instant justice, or you know, the big English and the big Latins and the wig, let's take it through court, and you see it in the video where the guy walks. I mean, what do we need now as a country? Do we need a Sally for Mankwa one, or do we need a matching Kpebu?
To be candid, sometimes you look at the situation and you wish you would have the return of Sally for Mankwa. To be candid, yes, sometimes it's so frustrating that you say, this man should come. You whip the people at circle, whip them in line and all that. But as a society, we've decided to move away. So I think the way forward is that let's have criminal justice reforms. Criminal justice reforms. Let's have these timelines that you've passionately talked about, and I've also, supported. That we need timelines. For crying out loud, you can't be using a 1960 law in 2018. I mean, so many nations have jettisoned these laws, and they've gone for modern ones so that you have the trial modernized. You see, and quick, there are timelines. You see, we've made some reforms when it comes to civil trial like this. They've introduced what we call the witness statement, but you know, maybe it's early days here to judge it. We are still not there. But when it comes to criminal trials, my brother, you know this about, we've mentioned it before, pre-trial disclosure. That's a case where you would have all the evidence, okay, exchanged before the trial, so that, give me the evidence, let me see. If, as defense counsel, I see the evidence and it's so overwhelming, I tell the accused that, oh, my brother, look, this one, there's nothing that even Jesus Christ can do for you, so let's go and plead guilty. And these advanced countries, that's what they've done. And so many African countries. Fortunately, the NCA trial, the Supreme Court was going to decide on it. I think they say 7th June. Let's see. That cannot be the end of disclosure. Disclosure is a lot more complex, a lot more bigger than one case. But let's take that one, and after that, maybe we'll get a revolution in disclosure as well.
024-366-2001. 024-366-2001. That's Tanti's Fashion. They make my shirts for the show. So give them a call and get yourself a nice shirt. But let's just all say yes to justice. Whoever it is, whether you are in the media or outside of the media, justice for all. Thank you so much, Martin. It's been very educative.